Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you know, fall is quickly approaching and pumpkin spice season is very close, but I don't want to forget to honor the amazing apple season. There are so many fun recipes you can do with apples, so here are 4 of them that I'm going to share with you right now. This first recipe I'm sharing is so easy. It is apple pie cups. You only need 2 things to make this: a can of cinnamon rolls and a can of apple pie filling, or you can make your own, but I decided to do can just to make it super easy. I have a cupcake pan here. I'm just going to spray that with a little bit of olive oil so that my cinnamon rolls do not stick in there. And then I'm just going to get this opened up and press my cinnamon rolls right into the cupcake pan. I'm just going to press it down and push it against the edges and make sure it is filling the cup as well as it can without having holes in it. And I'm just going to continue that with the rest of them. Next, you're just going to spoon in your apple pie filling. You don't want to overfill it too much, just fill up the cinnamon roll. These are going into a 375-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm just laying out some wax paper, and this is my cooling rack. These are my finished apple pie cups. I'm just going to take those, put them on this rack, that way I can drizzle over the cinnamon roll icing. I did not include this in the original ingredients because it is totally unnecessary, but I had it in my cabinet, so I figured I would just add it on. It is just some apple pie spice. You could also use cinnamon. That would be perfect on top of these. These are really inexpensive and a really simple thing you can make with your kids as just a quick little treat. Next up, I'm sharing these apple cinnamon pancakes. Let me show you what I used in these. I have some half and half, vanilla, 1 egg, all-purpose flour. You will need brown sugar. I also have some baking powder back there in the corner. I have 1 large apple. I'm just using a Honeycrisp for this. Some butter, and then for my seasonings, I have salt, apple pie spice, and cinnamon. To begin, I'm going to add in 1 cup of all-purpose flour into this bowl with 2 tablespoons of packed brown sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And then 1/4 teaspoon of apple pie spice and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to get those dry ingredients mixed together and then set those aside so I can get started with my wet ingredients. In my measuring cup, I have 1 cup of half and half measured out already. I'm going to add in 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of melted butter that has cooled slightly, and then I'm adding in a half teaspoon of vanilla extract. Next, we're going to get our apple grated. So I am doing this last, that way it doesn't turn brown. I'm going to go ahead and remove all the skin with this peeler, and then I'm just going to take the apple and cut around the core. And I'm going to stick this right into my little cheese shredder that I have. This actually worked really nicely, and it made the apple in very small pieces, so there were not huge chunks in the pancakes. Now we're going to get everything combined. So I have my dry ingredients here. I'm just going to pour in my wet ingredients, then add my grated apple right on top, and then I'm just going to mix that. Just be careful that you do not over mix. I pulled out my griddle for this recipe, and I'm just using a stick of butter to kind of grease that up. I'm using a 1/3 cup measuring cup to measure out my pancakes, and I'm just going to go ahead and let those cook, and you know it's time to flip them when they start to bubble. These would be so perfect for a very cool, crisp fall morning. We just drizzled over some syrup and added a little butter, and then these were ready to eat. The third recipe I'm sharing is this apple cinnamon cake. This is everything here that I used. I have some vanilla extract, brown sugar, all-purpose flour, butter, then I have cinnamon, salt. In this measuring cup, I have the oil and water that is required for this cake, along with the 3 eggs that go in there. Whatever cake you use might differ, so the liquids might be different or the egg amounts. And then I have apples sitting out here. I wasn't sure how many apples I was going to need because these apples were very tiny, so I sat out 7, but I actually only used 4 of these. If I were using large apples, I probably would have only used 2. I'm just going to get my oven preheated to 350 and then start on my crumbly topping. I'm adding a half cup of flour along with 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar and about an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. I just gave that a mix to break up the brown sugar that was packed together, and now I'm going to chop up half a stick of butter. You want it to be hard, and then stick it in here, and I'm just going to kind of cut this into my mixture until I have little crumbles. At this point, I honestly didn't know how many apples I was going to need because the last time I made this was probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I know I used big apples, so I started with 4, and that actually ended up being enough for the amount that I was making. I just cut those into really thin little strips, that way they would get soft in the oven and not take hours to cook, and then everything would be unbalanced with the cake. So I got those all cut up, and then I have a 1/4 cup of brown sugar here and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Just going to get that mixed together. And then I also am adding in 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm quickly going to whip together this cake in my mixer, just following the box directions. I'm using an 8x8 pan here, and I have this olive oil spray that I'm going to spray my pan down with to protect my cake from sticking. I'm just going to add my cake mixture in there and then add my apples right on top and gently press those down slightly into the mixture. Last but not least, you're just going to dump your topping right over the top, and I just spread it out to make sure it was covering completely. This actually took about 1 hour in my oven. I did check it at the 45-minute mark and it wasn't quite done yet. So 1 hour is what I would say your cook time is. Just be careful with your ovens. This was so good. It did not need any icing on it, but if you wanted to, you could make a little glaze with some powdered sugar and some milk. That would be really tasty on here too. This last recipe was another really simple one. This is just a dip that you can dip your apples in. I'm using these English toffee bits, some sugar. I have this caramel sauce here, and then 1 cream cheese block, and of course apples for dipping. First, I'm going to add my block of cream cheese in here. I'm just going to give that a quick mix, and then I'm going to add my 1/3 cup of sugar in here, and then give that another good mix. Once you have that mixed together, you're just going to need a small container. I have these mini casserole dishes that I got at Aldi when I used to work there a few years ago. I'm just going to go ahead and put that in the bottom of this. After that's evenly spread on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead with my caramel and dump that right on the top. The original recipe says to use the entire jar. This is a 12-ounce jar. I am only using half of the jar, which is about 6 ounces. I thought that was enough, but if you decide that you wanted to have more caramel, feel free to add more. Same thing for the toffee bits. You can add as much or as little as you want to. I just gave mine a nice little layer over the top, and honestly, this was enough for me. If you really like that crunchy effect, then you're going to want to add some more, but this was plenty. I just got an apple sliced up, and then this is my finished dip. I did let it chill in the fridge for about 1 hour to just kind of firm up a little bit, and it definitely tastes better when it was cold. I also think this would be really good if you just used peanuts on the top to be more like caramel apple, or even Greek yogurt in the bottom. That would be really good and a little bit healthier of a choice. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I cannot wait to share more fall recipes this year. This is my first year on YouTube, so I have so many great videos planned. I really hope you stick around, so don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys on Sunday.